What's up, people? I know the coolest people. I can't give out names, I was already told. We're at the end of the year, and I asked for this. So I'm up here to give my testimony. You guys ready for this? All right. Let's get it on. Pray real quick, we'll get started. Dear Lord, use me as your vessel that you get the honor and glory for. This story brings you glory in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, my name is Walsh, for those that don't know, for those that know. Cool. And we're here, and I'm here to give my full testimony on what's happened in my life. Everything that I'm going to tell you is true, which is great. And everything I'm going to tell you is true, and some of it's not great. All right? But all those things happen. We're going to go really fast. You guys keep up. You ready to go? All right, let's go. August 9th, 2009. I was taking my daughters back with my wife, and we just got on vacation. It was 91 degrees outside, hot. And we were getting off the Clio Road exit. We hang a left off the Clio Road exit, go over the bridge. Truck comes out, and it's got a cab, white trailer behind it. Stops in the middle of my lane. I got to move lanes. Right as that happens, an F-250 pulls out. I have nowhere to go. At that moment, I had to make a decision. I'm either going to let the truck smash into my wife and daughter's side of the car, or I have to turn it and take head on. Quarter second of my life, going through the safety features of the vehicle, what to do. Bam! Next thing I remember is the smell of the airbag going off. I look to my right. I asked my wife if she's okay. She's not sure. My daughter's screaming in the background. I got to get out of the car. I can't. Door's jammed. Adrenaline kicks in. Rip the door open. Step out of my left foot. Pain shoots through the left part of my foot. I know something's wrong. I open up the door. My daughter thinks her arm's broken. It's not. No compound fractures. Adrenaline dump drops. I see someone running towards me, and I fall towards them. I look up the sky, and the clouds turn yellow and pink and blue. And the last thing I said is I did okay. The next thing that happened is I watched the two eye holes in my body slip far away, and my soul just started to go down. And then I was gone. It was over. My life that I lived was done. I was at 2.5 minutes. Luckily, there's a big boy there, and that's where ambulance people like to come. They came, they revived me on scene. The next thing I remember was somebody really far away saying that my blood pressure is 70 over nothing, keep trying. Keep pumping. So in my head, I'm like, pump, 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 right? The next thing I feel is the most massive rush of pain you've ever felt in your entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm alive, right? Because if you're dead, there's no pain. Go to the hospital. Had to have reconstructive surgery on my left foot. They missed 2 broken ribs, 2 snapped ligaments, and some nerve damage, but we'll get to that. I'm not saying they're not good at their jobs. I'm just telling you what happened. All right? Takes about 15 months. Over the next 15 months, I'm seeing doctors, and I'm like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. They got me going to a psychologist. Every story I told you is true. And everything I'm about to tell you is a little embarrassing, but it is also true. Okay? So I'm going to a psychologist. Now, mind you, I'm seeing neurologists who's telling me there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong. And how the doctors explain it to me is when they're looking for a brain injury, they start with horses, the regular ones, and they go to zebras, the rare ones, then unicorns, right? You don't want to be a unicorn in this particular story, right? While this is going on, they have me see a psychologist, and the psychologist is telling me that I'm making this up. It's in my head. I don't actually have an issue, which lack of sleep and stress, the drama scenario, you can imagine how much stress there would be in a situation, right? And so I went up to 8 days without sleeping, and I was very depressed, very struggling, because I'm like, man, am I making this up? Is this real? Right? So after 15 months, and we had gone to about 8 doctors at that time, 8 neurologists, and they said, we can't find anything. And the doctor said, maybe I should put you on some medication. I was on 11 medications. Now, I've never seen a side effect list of 11 medications, but I promise not all of that fits right. So you're not thinking clearly, right? And you're stressed, and you're not getting sleep, and you're depressed, And you said, oh God, why did this happen, right? I don't deserve this. It wasn't my fault. And yet, we still went there. 15 months later, I finally did this experiment where they put me in a chair and they spin you as hard as fast as they can. And you throw up, by the way. And they check to watch your eye movement. And they're like, hey, there's something off here, right? Come to find out, I get diagnosed with something called horror fusion. All right, horror fusion. When I tell you that you don't want an injury with the word horror in it, I promise that that's a true statement, okay? Horror fusion means that your eyes work independently of each other, not together, which causes vertigos, vomiting, migraines, right? Can't go outside, sight issues, sound issues, because your sound's trying to take over it, right? And this whole time I'm in my house. The one upside to it was my psychologist was wrong. There was actually a problem, right? It was like winning the worst lottery of all time, right? So I told my doctor, and this is when I first realized my wife had been telling me there was an issue, but of course she was wrong. And that I was saying everything I'm thinking. Right. That's a huge problem. All right. So the stories I'm about to tell you are both true, but as you judge me, imagine it was you and your brain and mouth said everything you thought, how much trouble you would be in. Because I'm about to tell you the trouble I was in. These are all true stories. So I go to the psychologist and he said, I heard you got a diagnosis. I said, yes, I did, matter of fact. And so I came in there, it was in a manila envelope, and I tossed it down on his desk and I wait for him to talk. And I'm mad, right? Because you had me losing my mind and thinking I was crazy. And he goes, no, and ah. And I wait for him to get done. I said, well, what do you think? He said, well, it's a clinical diagnosis. I said, I'm curious, doctor, what psychosis does that fall under? And he said, well, it doesn't. I said, well, you know what that means? He's like, what? I was like, that means you stink at your job. I said, you know what you do with people that stink at their jobs? He's like, what's that? I said, you fire them. I'm saying this to the doctor. I'm looking right at him with my eye. Okay? And he said, you can't fire me. I said, watch this. This is all true. It's so sad. I put the phone on speaker. I call my manager who's doing all my appointments. I said, you know that doctor I can't stand? And I'm looking at him. I said, you know that guy? She's like, yeah, you fire him. She's like, I'll take care of it. I said, since you're going to charge my insurance $250, we got 45 more minutes. And for 45 minutes, I just stared at that guy. True story. I don't know why he didn't want me back. I just thought I was making a point, right? So this happens. And while all this is going on, we're trying to figure out what we can do about the eyes. And they said, well, you can go to the University of Michigan. And there's an eye clinic down there, and you can get a surgery. So we go down there, and I meet this doctor, Dr. Sandel, very nice guy. And he says, well, we have a realignment eye surgery. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what does that entail? He said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to strap you down. What he meant was strap you down like Hannibal Lecter, from my head and my toes, and then we're going to wheel you in, then we're going to knock you out. Then we're going to cut into the white part of your eye, then we're going to wake you up, and then we're going to adjust it, and then we're going to knock you back out and finish up. But don't worry, you won't remember. I was like, this sounds like a date rape drug. I'm not sure I want to do this one. And his response was, well, there's no pain receptors in your eyeball, so it'll be fine. The only problem is the part they're cutting is your muscle. So your eye only hurts when it moves. Right. How many times do you think your eye moves in 10 seconds? Right? A lot. So when you wake up, you're like, ow, 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 ow. Right? And the whole white part of your eye is bloodshot red. It's really gross. I didn't put the picture up there because it's gross. Just trust me. I said, well, what's the percentage chance of this surgery? He said, one half. I said, oh, 50%. I said, no. 1% chance of success. I was like, there's a 99.5% chance of failure? He said, yeah. And I'm like, we're going to do this. And he's like, well, yeah. I was like, did we walk this one through? Right? And I'm like, what else is there? And he looks at me straight in the face. He said, there's nothing. There's nothing. I said, all right, let's do surgery. I mean, 0.5%'s better than none. That's good, but if you got to pick, right? Go in, strap you down, cut, finish up. 3 months surgery, 3 months of therapy, go back and see the doctor. Doctor says, well, it didn't work. I'm like, all right, well, percentages were in that favor of outcome, right? He said, I'm going to refer you to the #1 surgeon in the United States. He took an interest in your case because you're the only person alive with this injury. And I'm like, great, let's check that out. Guy comes in, very rude. He said, I'm taking this case because I'm the #1 surgeon, and if it works, I'm going to get published. I'm like, whatever it takes, bro, let's just get her done, right? Do the surgery, doesn't work. 3 months, 3 months. Do the surgery, doesn't work. 3 months, 3 months. Do the surgery, doesn't work. Walks in, 4 surgeries. I'm committed. How many people will quit? How many people will quit? After 1, after 2, after 3, 4. #1 surgeon in the United States walks in my room. He said, I'm 33 years old. He said, I'm sorry, Mr. Walsh, it didn't work. Your life is over. By the way, no one lives past 20 years. Good luck. Shuts the door, and I have to console his assistant on my bad news. Bullet. Absolute bullet. At 33 years old, your life is over. You have nothing. Right? Not a single thing you can do about it. Not a single thing you can do. But I'm committed. I don't know if any of you guys met me, but I'm fairly hard-headed. And what I like to say is tenacious. It means relentless. And when you're doing the wrong thing, people call you a jerk, right? When you're doing the right thing, they call it faithful. But it's the same thing. Whichever side you want to pick, you're probably right, but I am that thing, without question. So I said, Doc, I don't care what you say, I'm going. So I go to a renowned specialist neurologist. How many would quit after 5 neurologists said it's impossible? 10? 20? 30? 50? 100? Who quit? Who's left? 107. 107 in 3.5 years because no's not the answer. It's not the answer. Plus I had rage. It's a deep well. 107 times I got told no. In the middle of this next story I'm going to tell you is true. It's embarrassing. In the middle of all these doctors, how many people here have been to this hospital before you got to fill out that paperwork? Right? Name, address, phone number, surgeries, pills, blah, 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 right? It's endless. Right? Well, after about 30, it's kind of boring. Right? And I'm doing this every 3 days. Right? In the middle of this, I'm trying to get my license back because I can't drive, of course, you know. And so I go see this guy, and he looks exactly like you think he does. Right? Brown hair, blue shirt, yellow tie, tan pants, tan shoes, right? Hello, Mr. Walsh, how are you? Well, I'm filling out the paperwork. Name, address, phone number, 13 surgeries, drugs, blah, 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 hobbies. Ooh. Well, I'm pretty good at Call of Duty. Assassin. Why not? I got nothing else to do but see doctors tell me it's impossible, so what difference does it make? By the way, the word impossible means cannot be done. Cannot be done. Any piece of information. I go in and I see the doctor. Doctor says, Mr. Walsh, you're in here for this horror fusion, blah, blah, blah. The only person alive. Thank you. Great. It's wonderful. Whatever. There's nothing I can do for you. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, under here it says hobbies. You're an assassin. I looked him straight in the face. He said, that's correct. He said, you kill people. I said, that is what the definition of an assassin is. That's correct. So he gets kind of irritated. He turns around. He kind of looks back at me. And he said, you really kill people? And I said, listen, doctor, if we got to go through every question 3 times, this is going to take a really long time, so we should just move on, right? By this time, I'm fairly satisfied with my stupid joke, and I think it's funny. So he takes 2 steps towards the door, and he turns to me. And at this point, he's kind of irritated, right? He's got this look on his face, and he says, am I going to have to call security? And I put my hands on my chest, and I kick my feet out. I said, you can. They just won't make it here in time. He went from mad to sheer fear. And about that quick. For the record, don't do that. So when security got there, no, just kidding. Listen, don't do that. The brain injury while I'm doing all this, every day, while all this is going on, I'm throwing up every day. I have migraines where it feels like my head is being squeezed as hard as possible and lit on fire, right? And then on top of that, I have people go, man, you're kind of a jerk. I'm like, are you sure? Right? I had 1,003 contacts in my phone. You know how many people would call me back after a car accident? 3. My in-laws were there. My wife was there. My brother-in-law, sister-in-law, my kids. That's it. Why? Because all my contacts were based off of what they could get from me. They weren't my friends. They're weeding that out because when I needed them, it's like, oh, I'm busy. I can't be there. You know that, right? That's a true statement. This whole time, not interested in what God's saying. I'm trying to survive. One of the medications I'm on at this time makes me allergic to the sun. And this time, I could look at my deck, but I couldn't go on it. My skin would turn purple and start to burn. And you want to talk about torture? I had to sleep 12 to 14 hours a day so I could get up for 4 to 6 hours because my head hurt so bad and I would throw up so much I had to eat my food based off of what I throw up. How many people will quit? You quit, right? There's no hope. I got to this whole point. Depression was so bad. It was so difficult. I'm like, all right, my family's better without me. I know what I want to do. I know how I'm going to do it. I can't leave the house. I can't get better. The logical step is to get rid of the problem and I'm the problem. Logically made perfect sense, right? If you struggle with depression, I get it. Like the weight is so bad, you can feel it, right? Every time you turn around, it's always a problem. I would go to a function and everybody had to stop because I was there and they couldn't even talk loud because my head hurt so bad, right? The rage that I had was just unquenchable. I didn't deserve this. This isn't fair. God, if you're real, this isn't it. And so I negate this and I'm done. Best thing I can do is get some insurance for my family and be done with it. That's the answer. So I planned it. Got the whole thing ready to go. I'm sitting on my steps, step number 4 on my steps. And I had all the steps memorized in my house. I could walk everywhere in my house without my eyes open. I'd been stuck in my house so long. It drove me crazy, right? So I'm like, all right, God, this is it. This is the moment. If you're real, as sure as I'm looking at you, this little voice said, all things work together for good, which half scared me and half made me mad. To be honest, I jumped off the steps. I said, you prove it. You prove it. I said, what do you want? And I thought, 1, I've never talked to a little voice in my head before. And 2, like, if you're going to take a shot, go big, right? And I'm like, you know what I want? I want wisdom. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know why I'm doing it. Why am I here? What is the purpose? Why do I get up every day? What do I do? If you got a plan, I'm all ears. Because this is nonsense. He said, okay, give me a chance. I'm like, fine. I'm going to study the Bible to prove that this is nonsense while I talk to a little voice in my head at my house alone that I've been stuck in. That sounds kind of crazy when you say it out loud, right? I told you, I'm only going to tell you the truth. So I started studying. I started studying Proverbs. I'm like, all right, let's look at it. And the first thing I found in there is I told you I had a rage problem, right? When you're in the military, they thank you for your service, which is great and all that. And they teach you how to focus your rage into a fine point, but then they don't ever tell you how to shut it off, right? You know how to hurt people, but you don't know how to deal with that, right? So I had a rage problem, and I don't lie to myself. I don't lie to anybody, but I don't lie to myself especially. I don't pretend to be good at something when I'm not good at that thing. That's ridiculous. So I had a rage problem. And not only did I have a rage problem, I really liked being violent because I was good at it. And if you're good at something, you should practice. You should. I'm just saying. So I'm like, all right, Lord. And I come from a family, Irish family, and they're always known for getting along really well. That's not true. And me and my dad, we disagreed. And anyways, we're in an argument about God knows what. I don't remember. And his nose touched my nose. Now, anytime that you have to deal with an anger problem, I know all of you are very calm people, but anytime you got to deal with an anger problem, someone, once they touch your person, you then have the right and the responsibility to beat the brakes off of them, right? But this is your dad, and you can't do that because it's against the rules, because this book says so. So I'm like, and then it's popped in my head, soft answer turns away right. And he's screaming at me, and I'm just as guilty. I was yelling at him. And I said, well, all right. So in my head, what happened is I'm like, all right, we're going to give this a shot, Lord. And then also in my head, I'm like, this is never going to work. And then he's yelling at me. I have no idea what he's saying. And I said, you know, I can hear what you're saying. And he looked at me as a 55-year-old man and went, I know. And I'm like, oh my God, it worked. I can make somebody else mad at me. We got tested theory, right? Soft answer turns away wrath. Proverbs 15:1 and 15:18, right? Grievous words stir up strife, which means that if you irritate somebody, they're going to be mad. That makes sense. What happens if you don't irritate somebody? I didn't know the answer. I got to find this out. And then it worked, right? So I'm like, all right, God, that worked. What else you got? I'm not going to say it worked, and I'm saying there's a chance that maybe the Bible works. Maybe. Let's check. Right? At this point, while all this is going on, my doctors tell me it's impossible for me to get better. Cannot be done. And then in the middle of this, any of you ever had to deal with someone who struggles with lying? Right? There's 3 types of lying, right? There's a talebearer, there's a false witness, someone talks about something wrong, a deceiver, someone tricks somebody and they get joy out of tricking people, makes them feel intelligent, right? And I was hanging around my friends at the time, which were not you cool people. And it says in there that a person does talebearing, that they'll flatter you with their tongue so they can reveal secrets, right? That they're going to be kind to you so they can hang out. Well, I'm like, well, why would my friend want to flatter me to get a story so he can lie about it? If he's not talking to my friends, who's he talking to? Well, you'd have to talk to people I don't know or my enemies, right? And I'm like, I'm going to test this theory. I'm going to test this theory. I know just the person, right? So I went up to this person. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Don't tell anybody. I wink, but I can't. Right? I said, don't tell anybody. But I'm going to tell you this story. And I waited. I'm telling you, like clockwork, 2 weeks later, more embellished story came back. And I'm like, it worked. That's not my friend. I need to stay away from that person because that person's going to hurt me. And I'm like, man, that's a good piece of information. What else is there? It starts talking about hate and anger and wrath and jealousy, and it shows you how to do it. It tells you what the outcomes are. And I'm like, this works? What do you do with that? What do you do with the fact that it works? Because believe me, when I tell you I was not a Jesus freak, I definitely wasn't. I grew up in a Baptist home where you can't do anything. And if you do, you're a horrible, bad person. Right? But that's not how any of this works. It doesn't work that way. God puts us in a position to be successful and then lets us choose to fail. Right? I'm a definitions person by nature. Right? There's 2 wisdoms, wisdom from above and a wisdom from below, right? Sin, God's wisdom. Anybody here know what sin means by definition? I didn't know. I had to look it up. You know what it means? To miss the mark. You know what God means by definition? Perfection. So you have a wisdom that has you miss the mark versus a wisdom that has you hit the mark. Now, which one of those you want to use? It seems stupid when you say it out loud, right? But how many people struggle with lying? Anger, hatred. I was picking failure and then mad at everybody else that I was picking it. I was like, man, I think I'm my biggest problem here. And then I was like, man, I think I'm my biggest problem here. Right? What do? Right? During all this time, I got involved with jail ministry. Right? So like 4 years I studied Proverbs. And I break down all the chapters down and I separate it out by category, which takes a very long time. And guess what I found out? There's a list. There's a list of these guys. Right? The wisdom has guys. Anger, hatred, lies, jealousy. And I'm like, man, I suck at all of those things. So I got to practice not doing those. But what do I replace them with? I had no idea. Well, what's the opposite of lies, right? Well, that's truth. But when you have a habit of lying, and not whoppers, like, does that shirt look good on you? Oh, yeah. No. Right? But you can't say that because you got to be kind. So how do you be kind and tell somebody what they want to hear? Anybody ever heard the statement, well, I'm going to tell them the truth and the facts don't care about their feelings and this is just a cold, hard truth? You ever heard that before? All right. If you put the truth inside something that tastes terrible, are you going to eat it? Then the whole reason I'm telling them the truth is so you can be right. Right? Well, that's pride. Love is saying, how can I say this in such a way you'll take this and you win? I want you to take the information and I want you to win. And there's So I was like, well, I know how to be a jerk. How do you be a good guy? I had no idea. I had to look it up. Like a 6'4". It says a good man, 3 things. Kind, which I wasn't. Just, which I was. Fair. Which means I listened to each side of it and didn't take a side. I was talking with a friend of mine. I'm not allowed to give names out, but he's here. And there was a situation that had gone on. It was political, and this person is, I have very high regard for him. And he said, here's the situation. What do you think? I listened. And I said, I don't think I have to have an opinion on a situation. I don't know all the information. This person looks at me and he says, I think that's the best answer I've ever heard. Because when something happens in another state or another country, and this is the political thing, I don't know all the information. So I make a dictation on that and tell you why I'm right and then argue with it. I don't have all the information. What's that mean about me? That means I'm foolish, right? And I was definitely foolish. While all this is going on, I had to go to a physical therapist where they were going to do laser treatment on my brain. Right. Laser treatment on my brain with a gun. And I had to sign off for it, which was awesome. But it wasn't awesome. It wasn't awesome. So I go to the therapist, I sit down, and it's right after lunch. How many people here have smelled curry before? How many people think it smells good? All right, one person. It's horrible. It's so bad. All right. So I go in, and I had this portly nurse come in, and he was in the blue scrubs. Thank you. And he had just had curry. And I know that because I can smell it. I don't see good, but I smell great. Right? And so from my perspective, remember at this time I told you the whole time I'm going through this, I'm saying everything I'm thinking. Right? You should really tell my wife what a great person she is. I'm just telling you. Guys, you think it stinks now. All right, so I'm in the doctor's appointment. So from my perspective, what happens is he slaps the gun down, walks out the door, slams the door. I'm like, man, what a jerk, right? So I wait a couple minutes. The manager comes in. I'm like, here's some good news, right? She says, Mr. Walsh, you cannot tell my employee it smells like a cat poops in their mouth. And I'm like, man, I was just thinking that. Right? And then I'm like, oh no, I just said that, right? So the dilemma comes in. I told you this was just to be true. I didn't say it'd be good. True story. Oh, it gets worse. So I said, ma'am, there's no way you've not smelled his breath before. And he's not coming in here without some big red because that's disgusting. And she giggled. So I was like, I'm off the hook, right? Not apologize, defend, right? That becomes important later. So she says, you know what? I will finish up the appointment. So finish up the appointment. And I go out to the lobby, and it's a therapy place. And it's got the bars and the bands and the balls and all that, right? And I look to my left, and my illustrious nurse was there, and he apparently had missed underwear day. And I thought it would be funny if someone took a quarter, put it in the slot, and yelled, jackpot! Yeah! Welcome to my life. I don't know why I didn't have any friends. Oh, if that wasn't true, it'd be better. True story. This is part of my real life. And at this point, I'm like, how does God use me? If you pick a list of how somebody fails, I got those suckers checked. Right? Do not go in public. Check. Do not talk to doctors. Check. Not allowed to fire your doctors. Check. Right? Doing so bad. I'm like, this is impossible. 4 years to study. But this time, I'm well enough that I can go down to a jail and I can teach down jail for 1 hour, then I'd be sick for 3 days. I would throw up for 3 days, migraines for 3 days, but it gave me purpose. A reason to get up every single day instead of sitting in my house dying. It was horrible. But I'm like, all right, God, and all of these things started working. Anger, hatred, lying, I started getting rid of that stuff. Start surrounding myself with people that like other stuff like that. Like the people in this room. Right? And I said, what am I looking for? I'm looking for intelligence. I'm looking for kindness. I want to be loved. I want my friends to love me back. You ever been around your friends and always my friends start busting chops, right? What do your enemies do? Don't they bust your chops? Don't they? Well, why would I do that? That's dumb. I think my friends are cool. I like this sweater that he's wearing. I think he's got a great smile. His sense of humor is ridiculously funny. Right? He makes an eye patch look attractive. Just saying. Right? I want him to know that. Why don't I tell him? I don't know. Right? Then I looked up the word righteous because I always thought it was like a church person, a perfect person, a nearly perfect person. I looked it up. You know what it means? A habit of obedience, which means practicing doing the right thing versus practicing doing the wrong thing. So when you see that word, it's like, well, I can practice doing the right thing. Because you know what you do in practice? You suck sometimes. That's why you practice, right? So I started practicing. And I decided who I wanted to be. Right? You feel that? No one dictated what I was going to do. I chose it. You know what I chose? You know what I love doing? You know what I love doing? I love helping people. I don't know why. Because when you invest in somebody and you watch them grow, there's no money for it. People can't change. It's impossible. You know impossible is 2 words? Did you know that? 2 words. I'm possible. What's God's name? One of God's names. I am, right? So impossible literally means God possible. By definition, that's what that means. So I'm like, all right, that's either true or it's not true. Let's figure it out. Right? So I start doing these things. Practice and sucking. Practice and starting getting wins. Telling the truth. Being honest. Trying to find a nice way to say something versus being mad all the time. And trust me, when your head is being squeezed as hard as it possibly can and lit on fire, it is hard to be nice, right? Because you have an excuse for being bad. Well, it's not my fault. I have a migraine, so you just have to put up with the fact that I'm being a jerk. When you say that out loud, it doesn't even make any sense. So I can't use it as an excuse, could I? It's not about me, right? So what's going on? So during this time, I'm trying to get my driver's license back. It took me 3.5 years, and I had to use a medical driver, which all of you people that don't cut those off, thank you. All right, and for the people that do, they're not in this room, I'm sure, but not okay when you have no depth perception because you were so close. All right? While all this is going down, I'm working out in the gym. 1 day a week. Gives me something to do. While all this is going on, I finally get the surgeries. The doctor says, you got 20 years left. What do I do with my 20 years, right? So I go to one of my family members, and it says, this is what I got going on. And they said, oh, okay. 2 weeks later, I go to my work, and this family member was telling everybody at work I was faking my brain injury because I wanted attention. A family member did that to me. Depression comes, anger comes, right? So now it's like, okay, I have a test. Do I get mad? I'm right to be mad. That was wrong. Right? And God gives me this extraordinary piece of wisdom. He said, is that true? It's like, of course that's not true. That's a lie. Next question. Who says something like that? Well, the only person that would say that is someone who struggles with it. Oh. Well, that's not my problem then, is it? No. So I don't have to take this personal? No. Great. Depression gone. Peace back. Done. I was safe. Right? Couldn't believe that happened. I spent so much, I can't believe this person, how can he do that to all that? Skip all that. That's not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Their circus, their monkeys. You keep those over there. I want mine. Mine are bad enough. Right? And I was safe. I was safe. Right? Next thing that happened, I was going out with a family member. And I was telling them all the amazing things I'm doing and all of the awesome people that I know and all the cool stuff we're doing. And there was something in the conversation that they didn't like. I told them 5 good things we're doing. We're doing a radio show, and a podcast, and a television show, an international television show, right? And we're putting together a concert, all kinds of cool stuff. And they're like, oh, well, I don't like this thing about you. All right? test. You get mad, or you ask a question, right? Instead of getting mad, I said, you know, I just told you like 5 amazing things that most people will never do in their whole life, right? And there's one thing about me that you didn't like. I said, yeah. I said, it's not interesting that you found something about me that you didn't like. It was interesting you were looking for it, because that means you're actually not on my side. And I'm listening to what you're saying. I respect that answer. I don't want that answer, but I respect that's what you choose. And I didn't try to put somebody in a hole that didn't want to be there. And guess what? I was safe here. I respected their decision, and I was able to say, okay, you don't want to be involved with what I'm doing. Okay, I accept that as an answer. I don't like it. You have value, but I don't like your choice. I'm allowed to not like your choice. You're allowed to not like my choice, right? We're allowed to not get along on everything, but that doesn't mean that you don't have value, right? All this is happening. While this is going on, I started losing weight, which was great, because I was like it doesn't matter. And the first 30 was good, right? I'm like, well, I haven't fit in these jeans in a while. Pound a day, pound a day, pound a day, pound a day, pound a day. The next 30 was like, boy, this is kind of scary. The next 18 was super scary. Because I went to Mongolian barbecue, I started weighing, you know how you can weigh your 2 pounds. I'd eat 2 pounds, I wouldn't go to the bathroom, I'd lose half a pound. You think it stinks being overweight? It does. It's horrible not being able to stop losing weight, right? All of a sudden, I'm sleeping 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day, right? And I'm losing weight. I'm down to 158 pounds in 78 days. See that picture? That was supposed to be my last birthday party. I was 41. See that picture? That was me. We planned that as my last birthday. I told you everything I'm going to tell you is true. 41, getting bad, didn't know what was going on. I was sleeping 22 hours a day. My only goal every single day was to get up, take 8 steps to my door, 3 steps to the steps, 14 steps downstairs, 6 steps to the couch, watch TV for 1 hour, repeat those steps, and sleep for 22 hours. And I was exhausted. I had no energy. I was dying. I knew it. Again. Right? And all this time, I'm looking at all this, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But if I'm going down swinging. Right? So I planned a birthday party, planned a couple other things. And I have to go see my eye doctor, Dr. Debbie, who is an amazing person. And if you deal with migraines or anything, she's the one that trains everybody in the United States for eye realignment and stuff. So if you struggle with that, definitely let me know. All right. She talks to my wife. My wife is obviously upset. And she says, you know, I want you to go see this friend of mine. You know who her friend was? He was a brain injury specialist for the Red Wings and the Detroit Lions. That was who her friend was. I go over to see this guy. I can't walk. I can't think. I can't move. He said, I'm gonna inject you with something. I can't remember what it was. He said, if you pass out, I'll know what it is. Not only didn't tell me what the problem was, which I thought was interesting. So I get in there, shoots me a thing within 3 seconds. I'm out. I get revived. He said, I know what your problem is. Your body stops producing human growth hormone. I'm like, how does that happen? That pump just doesn't shut off, right? Oh, long-term side effect of brain injury. That's why everybody dies. I'm like, oh, there's some good news, right? I'm like, okay, what's the prognosis? He said, well, you have to have human growth hormone shots. I'm like, all right, well, how much are those? He said, $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month. They might as well be $200,000. I got nothing. Not only am I dying, now I know I'm dead. I know it. Imagine how hard that. Who would quit? God, I wanted to. And the hardest conversation I ever had in my whole life was a couple days later. I told my wife, listen, I know I'm going to die. It's going to be okay. It was just as horrible as you think it was. It was so bad. She leaves, obviously upset. I'm like, all right, God. Either let me die or I'll never say no. Your call. Either way, I'm good. All right? You just can't make this hard. I'm sorry. Takes a second. It was 2 or 3 days later, you have to ask my wife. The insurance calls and said, oh, somebody got a hold of Pfizer, the company that makes a human growth hormone, and they're going to sue your insurance company, which would have took us 2 years. And we're going to have a doctor to your house in 24 hours. 24 hours. I was like, okay, so yes then, right? Whatever's yes, right? I'm working out at the jail. I start to get better. It takes about 9 months, and we're just going to skip that part because it's going to take too long, right? I started working out at the jail. Now the jail, when I started managing there in 2015, I found out later it was the worst managed jail in Genesee County just because of politics, because Flint, right? Within 18 months, it's a training center for the eastern side of the state, right? I ended up leaving there due to circumstances. I actually asked God if he wanted me to leave to have me fired, which he did. And 2 months later, I'm like, all right, God, now what? And they said, well, in there, we want to do jail reentry where we help people find jobs once they get out of there. It doesn't exist. It's impossible, Isaac. And I'm like, ooh, that's my word. That's my word. It's impossible. Cannot be done. I'm like, I like that one. Guess who my national partner is? National Association of Builder Trade Union nationally. I can get anybody a job in there, and they don't have to pay for the training. They just have to have a license, a card, and a GED. So if you know somebody who needs one, I can help you. It was impossible. They said, we need marketing. My friend says, well, I got an internet room I'm not using. I said, well, I'll do a podcast. 4 months later, everybody said, hey, you want to be on the radio? How many people want to be on the radio? I want to be on the radio. Hey, you want to host a show? Yeah. Right? 2 months later, hey, you want to be on cable TV? I'm like, are you for real right now? He's like, yeah. He's like, I like what you're doing. You help people. I was like, yeah. Because I only got this much time left. The doctor's right. I got 5 years. What do I do with my time? Is I help people. Why? Because God gave us value. He came, he died for us, showing we have value. So you have value, so it's my job to do something for you for nothing, so I can prove to you it's about you. That's my job. Right? All of those things I told you happened in 12 months. We're getting ready to, I'm waiting for the hub to get a hold of me. I'm going to put our concert. It's going to be free. Everybody can come. I got the acts coming. Guys rip books in half and the band. I'll be speaking. You've already heard this, but it's cool. Right? And we're going to have fun. Why? Because we're going to help people. Right? You guys can all come. You know what I want in return? The opportunity to help you. The opportunity to help you. If you got an idea to help people, I don't care what it is. I don't care. I'll put you on my radio show. I'll put you on my television show. We'll have it produced and edited by my producer, who's amazing. We'll give it to you at no cost. If you got swag or something that you want to sell, we'll put it on our Etsy store. I think at no cost. There might be a small charge, so don't quote me. And then you take the credit. That's what I want. And to prove what I'm saying is true, anybody got an idea that they want to do something? All right. One person, you got an idea? Come here. We're going to start you out with a gift card so you can get it done. This is what we're going to do. Right here. This is you. Amy, right? So you got an idea. We're going to let you start that idea. You put your stuff on there. I'm going to have her on my podcast. I'll schedule her before she leaves, and you guys are going to know she met it and started here, and that's going to be fun, right? Right? Right. Now, we have Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube, so if you're not subscribed and like, just help us get the word out. And everything that we're doing in the community, we'll do to help people. And because I just want to help people, like, you know the great thing about dying? Power, position, authority, doesn't really matter. Because you lose it. You know what matters? People. Invest in people. So I'm going to invest in people. Come here, Fred. I want you to help me. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Give me a number 1 to 4. 1 to 4. 3. All right. Give me letter A to H. B. All right. You, come here. Yeah, come here. $50 gas card. Tell Frank thanks, they picked it. What else you did? 1 to 4. 1. What is this? 1. Deja, get up here. She came a long ways. We're gonna give her some gas. That's my girl. It's fun, right? All right, who else wants to pick? I got 2 left. There you go. Somebody, give me a number. 1 to 4. Do it. Yeah. 4. 4. Give me a letter. Z. There's only 6. All right, I'm gonna do it. C. 4C. 4C. Who's that boy in the middle? Yeah, get up here. Get up here. There you go. This will help you out. Don't thank me. These people picked it. They did it. Thank them. I got 1 more. You guys ready? Here we go. Ah. Ow! Whoever grabs it can have it. There it is. All right. Listen to me. I didn't think there was a plan for my life. I thought my life was over, and it was. 99.5% chance of failure. Thanks, Frank. 99.5% chance of failure. That's my number. God uses me. I'm here doing this. Was that fun? Did you guys have fun? I had a freaking riot. Right? I know the most amazing human beings. Every day I get to hang out with them. And I was told I can't give out names, but they know who they are. And I'm just really thankful for them. If this is your first time hearing this and you got something, you come to me and I will help you. Because you're the thing that matters. I don't want something from you. I want to help you. And in return, I just want you to help somebody else. Or help me help them. And we'll help them together. And then we do stuff and help more people. That's all I want to do. You guys with me on that? Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.